With all that being said, our dear boy, he is the co-host of Birds 365, giving away a ton of shit. That's awesome. He is my friend, Big Z, Zander Krause.
What's up, big dog?
How you doing?
Good show, man. Marcus Hayes was good. I love hearing Howard Eskin. I love controversial people. If people can't tell, that's why Sileo has a great place here at JAKIB. I love a little controversial people. So I thought Howard was great, man. I thought he was great. Great show so far, brother.
Thank you, man. I tell you what, too, isn't it cool how you get different, all kidding aside, you get different views of how they see Nick and how they see Jalen. Yesterday, Dick Vermeil can't say enough great things about Jalen Hurts, right? And then when I asked him about the coach with some of the decisions, and then he kind of put him in a three-sided box. You pick one of the windows you want Nick in. Is he elite? Well, you pick one of the windows. I'm like, perfect dive in. Then I heard Marcus Hayes go, yeah, this is all Jalen Hurts is ever going to be. I was like, holy shit, what? And then I go to Howard, what do you make of Jalen? He goes, hey, he's a good quarterback. He's probably top 10, top 13. I threw 13. He's like, yeah, he's probably in there somewhere. Yeah. And I'm going like, wow, man. A whole different perspective. But I think one thing I'm getting out of everybody, I think this game's going to be close. Do you think so?
It's pretty hard to predict a blowout against the Chiefs, right? I think here's what I think. Because if you go back, I was telling everybody on Birds 365, I was rewatching the 22 Super Bowl last night. By the way, you should go and rewatch if you have time. Jalen Hurts in that game, even you would be calling him elite if that's how he played every week. This guy was so cash in that game with outside of that fumble. Yeah. But, we had moments in that game, Sills, where we had the ball with a chance to take really a commanding lead. We had a moment where we were up 10, obviously, and with the ball where we could have went
and
momentum. There was moments in that game where I felt like we could have blew it open, but we just didn't take advantage of it. And I do really think that our team is much more positioned. Maybe if you want to argue not this year, how about this game? Look at the defense in that game. They fell apart in the Super Bowl. Our best skill as a team was completely mitigated by a slippery, wet field, which, by the way, I tried not to make much of the field in the past because I do view it as an excuse, both teams had to play on it. But that was just a disservice to football fans everywhere. No, everybody was sliding everywhere, which I think hindered the Eagles more so just because of the way they were built with the pass rush. I think you're more positioned this year to make them pay if they make any mistakes.
I think the AstroTurf favors the Eagles because I think they're a faster team than KC.
That's fair. I just want to. The only thing I don't like to use that as an excuse, but can we just get a field that has no impact on either team? How about that? I just want to play football. Just play 60, right? So now I feel pretty good about the game. I'm not going to lie to you. I could see a 10-point win.
Wow.
I really could. I'm not saying that's not going to be my prediction probably, but I could see it. If this team can get the run going with Saquon like they've done all year, and you, by the way, you brought up a really good point that I thought you could even touch on more, is the Eagles aren't necessarily great at controlling the clock with the run game, because if you look at the run game, most of Barkley's yards, not most of them, a lot of Barkley's yards come on big splash plays. How many times has he had 200 in a game with a touchdown and 65 plus? And then the other one, it's 25 runs for 100 yards. That's about average for a running back, 4 or 5 yards a carry, somewhere in there. So I think that's going to be a factor. They got to run effectively. And if it's all home runs, you're going to get Patrick Mahomes all these extra chances on the field.
I brought up this in a 10-play drive. How many times do you think Chiefs, who don't have a real good run game, are going to throw it in that 10-play drive? 7 to set up? Okay. You know how many times the Eagles will? Probably 2. Why is that significant? Because when the ball hits the ground on incomplete passes, you stop the clock. When you're the Eagles, you're burning up field position and clock. So if you get that ball first and all of a sudden you hand the ball back in a 10-play drive, you're probably handing the ball back in the first quarter with 7 minutes left in the quarter. it's more advantage to the Eagles the way they run the ball compared to how Kansas City tries to move the ball. Kansas City moves the ball through the air, run and pass. The Eagles move the ball and they clean up time of possession and field position. What was the one thing that made that defense grow so fast this year? You know what it is? The Eagle offense never put that defense this year, because of the run game, in bad field position. They were always in good field position. So all through the year, you started to allow that team, which the year previous, all of a sudden when the offense fell off the planet, the defense was put more in third and longs, and they were put in bad field position. Things fell apart for them. This thing was seamlessly grown together so well this year. I think they're a more dominant football team heading into this Super Bowl. I wrote these advantages down to you. And you'll probably disagree with me here on this one here, but this is how I see it. And I'm going by resume. I'm not going by feel. This is resume. I don't think the Eagle defense is going to stop Kansas City's offense, because you know why? No one has. And I don't think nobody's going to stop the Eagle offense, because nobody has. And you're going to have to prove to me you can stop Mahomes in a Super Bowl, not named Brady.
This is what I like, ready? What you just said is perfect. You go to 22. We didn't run the ball in that Super Bowl. Greg Olsen said it on the broadcast 3 times. The Eagles are moving the ball through the air every single drive, and we controlled the clock in that game. You guys remember, after the third quarter in that game, we had so much time of possession. I think we had 28 minutes of time of possession to the Chiefs, like 13 or 14. Greg Olsen kept saying, they haven't had a chance to be on the field. They haven't had a chance to be on the field. That was all in the passing game. This is what I hate about that. You're trying to play the Chiefs game, and you're going to lose trying to play the Chiefs like the Chiefs, okay? You know what it reminds me of? Again, I always go back to this movie. I always go back to this moment. It reminds me of the 1980 Miracle game. If you play the Soviets game, they're going to skate around you, and they're going to beat you 10-3. You got to take their game and shove it right back in their face. And the Eagles, the way they're built this year, take your game, take your run game, take the physical nature that you play with, and run it right down their throat. Because if you get into this game where you're trying to be cute and you're trying to pass, that's where I think you're going right back into the Chiefs game, and I don't think that's a winning formula. Nobody's been able to do it. They're going for 3 Super Bowls because people can. What do the Bills do? The Bills play the Chiefs game every year. They lose by 3 points. Every year they lose by 3 points.
Ravens too.
Saint, take the run game. In fact, this might be the best time to triple down on what has gotten you to this point.
Yes.
Coach up those offensive linemen like we know they're capable of doing, and run the rock. That's what you need to do in this football game. And I think, again, now this game is so fresh in my mind. I was finishing up in the office till I say it's 10 o'clock at night. I flip on NFL Network, and this game is like starting. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And I watched one series, and then I got completely roped in, and I sat here till 12:30 at night watching the damn Super Bowl 52. But it was really a different approach our entire game in that game, because of the defense got mitigated, and we were passing the ball. Miles Sanders was putrid in that. Awful in that game.
Well, I think they stopped using him. They just stopped using him.
They did, but even when they went back to him later in the game, he had a 3rd-and-1 run in that game. Oh my, Saquon Barkley would never look like that. 3rd-and-1, this guy, puts a wimp shoulder in, the Chiefs just knock him back. It was a bad running performance. So I kind of like the way it's set up this year. I just hope the Eagles, are able to play their game, because I think Spags knows what I just said. Spags is going to say, I'm going to force Jalen Hurts to play our game. Not because I don't think he can do it, but because I think that gives the Chiefs the best chance to win. We're going to win by 3 if they're doing that. Even if, like in 22, Jalen has a damn near perfect game passing. I mean, Jalen made some throws in that game that I haven't seen him make yet in 2 years. That throw to Dallas he had a 3rd and 15. You probably remember it.
I do.
To the right hash going out of bounds. They reviewed the play and everything. That was one of the best footballs I've seen thrown in a long time. I mean, that was money, and you still didn't win.
This is again what I say about him. You're going to get that odd-on game, but you're not going to get that consistently from him. You're just not. Okay? He's not a guy who's going to go week in and week out and play like that. And the Eagles know that, because they played like that this year, because they had a grand slam home run hitter when it came to with Saquon Barkley. That's why. And by the way, I'm not sitting here telling you that you don't have a great defense, the Eagles. I'm just telling you that you have a generational coach, a generational quarterback. You're talking about guys who, in my opinion, we're not taught. You have a great defense. You're going to have to prove to me again that you're going to be able to stop them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
You're
like
gonna have
22.
to
So
prove it.
we had a great defense all year. Didn't have a great defense in the Super Bowl. Every stat, every metric, every accolade that's been achieved this year by the Philadelphia Eagles should be thrown out the fucking window. You need to be number one in rushing in this game. You need to be the number one defense in this game. You need to be the best quarterback in the field in this game. That's what you need. You don't care. I don't care about that. Like you just said, it's such a good example. I mean, you could be the number one defense all year. If you get got on any given Sunday, you lose the game. Who cares? It's all for nothing. Such a good point by you, though, because those things can change so quick. Those things can change so quick where, dang, I thought we were the number one defense all year. What the hell happened? Yeah. You got to be that on this week, man.
It's matchups. It really comes down to, by the way, I think that the Chiefs are going to have to prove to me that they're going to be able to stop that Eagle offense, because I have not seen, people go like this. Well, Pittsburgh, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Didn't they beat them by double digits? Right. I'm like, hang on here, man. I want to see somebody stop Philadelphia's offense. It's just been too dominant. Who do you think are going to be the two X factors on the outcome of the game? I'm not talking about dark horse guys who you think step up, I'm talking about who are the two key dudes for the Birds to win and for Kansas City to win.
It's a little unfortunate you asked that question, because my answer is so basic. Okay. It's Saquon Barkley and it's Jalen Carter. That's it.
Oh, I was talking for both teams. So you pick one for the Chiefs and pick one for the Eagles.
Okay. All right. One for the Eagles is going to be Saquon. Okay. Because I believe that you're going to need to put points on the board versus this Chiefs offense. And if you run the ball effectively, like you have all year, you play your game, you play your football, it's Saquon Barkley on the offense. On defense, on the Chiefs, it's got to be the great equalizer and Pat Mahomes. Let me give you one thing too. All right. Because Mahomes is the easy answer. All right. Let me give you a different one. And he's probably an easy answer too. The Philadelphia Eagles just gave up 11 catches to 105 yards to Zach Ertz. Okay. You got the greatest tight end maybe in the history of the game coming in, who is one of the best playoff tight ends probably in the history of the game, who before last game was on a 14-game streak of 75-plus yards in playoff game, who had a big game in the Super Bowl with a touchdown versus us in 2022. What's the game plan for him, Vic Fangio? Because Zach Ertz, who's slower, older, and not as talented, had 11 catches for over 100 yards. When's the last time Zach Ertz had over 100 yards? So if you're Andy Reid, what do you think he's doing watching that tape? He is oohing and ahhing over getting.
It's the middle of the zone. It's the middle of the zone.
So that's one. He could be an X factor there. If you're able to take away Mahomes or Kelsey, I feel pretty good about limiting the other guys that the Chiefs have. I'm not saying you're going to stop them. You're not going to hold them to 15 points. I don't believe. I mean, this isn't going to be like one of those games. At least I don't think. But if you can slow down Kelsey or almost entirely eliminate him, or the game plan makes it hard to get him the ball, that's where I think you can open yourself up to some 3 and outs or getting the ball back with the chance to take the lead with Barkley. So the X factor for the Chiefs, I'll go Kelsey. Even though Mahomes is the obvious one, I'll go Kelsey. Mahomes is going to play well, right? That's one thing we know.
Yeah. Well, he's going to play well the moments you need him to play well. I don't know.
Right.
He really, if you look at his Super Bowls, they've been very underwhelming. However, when you look at the moments they need him, he plays the greatest in the moments you need him the most. So, I mean, he plays in those moments. It's funny. I had guys calling in earlier or, commenting earlier, and they go, well, Vic Fangio's going to have a bag of goodies for Mahomes. He's going to be exposed. I'm like, do you honestly really believe that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid haven't seen everything in these games? This is their 5th Super Bowl. I mean, dude, what are we talking about here? They've been to 8 conference championship games in a row. There's nothing Vic Fangio is going to throw at Patrick Mahomes that he hasn't seen before. I mean, you're not talking about playing against Jaden Daniels. You're playing against a guy who has seen it all. In my opinion, you stick with what you've been doing great. Don't do anything stupid, because outside of that, dude, Mahomes, if you think you're going to blitz Mahomes more,
yeah, you're saying
rip you a new one.
You're saying don't come up with all this crazy BS because you're trying to throw Mahomes off. You're never going to do it. So no, I think it's a good point. I mean, look, this entire defense has been built on discipline and being in the right spot, communicating on in the secondary, and at the second level with the linebackers. So I'm with you on that. Totally stick to your guns. But I just gave you all the reasons that I think the Eagles have a good chance to win this game, right? Because of the way they play, because of the defense, because of the pass rush, some of those things. Jalen Carter. All right, this is what I don't like about this game for the Eagles. When you get into Super Bowls, when you get into games late in the playoffs, coaching matters more and more and more. And the Kansas City Chiefs have an advantage across the board on coaching.
In spades.
By far. So, and that's not supposed to be a knock on Nick or Vic.
No.
It's not. It's just looking at who you're going up against.
These are two of the best maybe of all time.
So that's that right there. Like, put this way, if I'm on this show saying this is how the Eagles can win the game, believe me, Andy Reid thought about this after he won the Super Bowl last year. Like, I'm not saying anything that these Chiefs coaches aren't aware of, and better yet, they're coaches that can actually capitalize and make good on what they are expecting coming into a football game. So I think that's the most clear advantage for the Chiefs, maybe even more so than the advantage of Mahomes over Jalen at quarterback, because I love Mahomes. Don't get me wrong. He's the greatest quarterback on earth. He's already arguably a GOAT in this league, probably second maybe already with what he's done at 29 years old. But he hasn't particularly played his best football yet this year either. Kind of like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts in 22 is an MVP candidate. Patrick Mahomes is 15 or 16 or whatever he was, 17-1 this year. I'm not taking credit away. I'm just saying the gap between him and what he's going to be against the Eagles defense versus what I think Andy and Spags provide for them is not as big. That's the biggest wild card coming into this game, is what are Andy and Spags going to do to give the Chiefs a significant advantage in the football game? And here's the other thing. Okay. The Chiefs were losing in that Super Bowl the entire game until the fourth quarter. In other words, the Eagles fans watched 75% of that game with the lead. And I'll never forget.
Last year against
I'll
the
never
Niners.
forget. And you guys I know some of you guys listen to Tone DeShields, who used to work with us at JAKIB. I will never forget standing in the green room upstairs before our post-game show with Tone DeShields watching that game. We were jumping at halftime after the third quarter. We're going to win the fucking Super Bowl. We're going to win the fucking Super Bowl. The fourth quarter came, and me and Tone are looking at each other like this. We're sitting next to each other. We're looking at each other like this. Yeah, we're not about to fucking lose this game, are we? We're not about to lose this game, are we? And we watched it. We were frozen. We couldn't even produce the post-game show. We were frozen. So don't let up. You got to have a lead on this team, man, because they will make you pay if you don't capitalize on opportunities. So that would be the other thing I'd say. Don't let it be close in the fourth quarter, please.
What did you make of Marcus Hayes saying that this is the best Jalen will be?
I don't agree, because I've seen him be better. I don't agree at all.
You've seen it when? When's the last time you saw him better?
22.
Sunday. Okay, you saw him one time this year play in a game that in Pittsburgh. You saw him twice this year. And in 22, or 23, you didn't really see him play exceptional football in 23. You saw him play pretty decent ball. Ton of turnovers.
But I'm sorry, but I understand what you're saying. And the benefit of now is correct that was a 1 year for Jalen Hurts to be great. But that's not what you asked me. You asked me if he can be better. I have seen him consistently be better.
To you? The last year and a half, he's been completely inconsistent.
Better to me is not about passing yards. Better to me is not about throwing the ball 35 times a game. Better to me is decisive with the football. Better to me is throwing the ball to receivers when they're coming out of their break. Trusting what you see. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Let the ball go.
Okay.
You know, you watch that again. I watched that 22 Super Bowl last night. Jalen Hurts, it was almost so fast he wasn't even thinking, dude. He drop back and fire, and when he does that, he's more accurate. He's better thrower. He's got more zip on the ball, and he's just a better all-around quarterback. So that's better to me. Better to me is not, oh, I need 300 yards a game to quantify it. If you have Saquon Barkley, fine, and you're not going to have 300 yards, good. I don't care. But I want to see him get the ball out. I don't want to see him take, you know, where I think you're right with the sacks is these are killing, especially when you're a running football team, right? If you're a passing team and you average 12 yards of play like the Chiefs or somebody like that, and you're used to throwing the ball or moving the ball downfield, all right, you can overcome sacks. When you're a running team and you're running the ball on first and second down and your running back's getting 30 carries a game and you're relying on him for a large portion of your offense and you take sacks, you're taking your entire game plan, you're shredding it up in a paper shredder, and you're saying, okay, we got to go back to the drawing board. So there you go. That's another area I'd like him to see better. Get rid of the ball and don't take some of these sacks. But that to me is how I view wanting Jalen Hurts to be better. It's not about can he throw it 35 times a game. I get it. Those are vanity metrics to me. They don't bother me whether, you know, right or wrong. I want to see him be better fundamentally as a quarterback. And I think he's capable of doing it. I just think I do think this coordinator shit's tough, man. Like Andy
That's Super Bowl's 37 games ago.
Yeah, and you know who's had the same play caller for 37 games since that Super Bowl? Patrick Mahomes.
No shit. I mean,
so again, it's not an excuse. I understand you're here in a Super Bowl 1 year after, but
no, I'm going to use your line. I'm going to use your line on me here. It's the Philly way.
Yeah, it is. But you know, to the credit to the point though of where I want Jalen to improve, don't you think? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't agree. Don't you think Jalen would be a little bit more confident in the offense if it wasn't changing every year? Don't you think he would be able to look at a receiver or know a route going into the game and let that ball fly if he was a little? It's all new every year, and I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I'm saying without that consistency,
it's a factor.
It's constantly a dead weight that's pulling on his back while he's trying to get better. It's hanging him down. It's holding him down. So I really think they got to. All right, if Kellen gets hired, all power to him. Go take this job. Frank. I think the Eagles should think long and hard about their next offensive coordinator.
I think Frank,
you're doing a disservice to your team and to your quarterback to keep changing this thing on him.
He's not getting another job as a head coach.
100%. That's why I like it. That might be why I like it the most.
That's right. Because you know why? He's going to go in there. Frank Reich ain't getting another head coaching job, bro. Okay? And Vic ain't getting another head coaching job. You stop the conveyor belt, whether it's good or bad. And the organization loves Frank. I mean, they have great respect for Frank. And by the way, you know, I hear people going, do you think Frank would be okay with working for Nick? Absolutely. Those guys would be kind of partners in the mess. They're not, dude, Nick Sirianni reveres Frank Reich's opinions. He talks to him weekly about advice on what he wants and what he's doing. Do you know how much they talk? Frank told me he's on the phone with him once a week.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I thought Howard said it beautifully. He's like, would you rather have a coach and a coordinator that don't get along? You know what I mean? I thought he said it well. So, no, I like Frank Reich. I mean, look, we've had him on the program several times before. What I don't think about Frank is this. You know, Buckhalter says Reich will never take a subservient role. I don't agree. I actually think you have Frank Reich pinned wrong, Buckhalter.
Yeah, you are.
I think Frank Reich is one of those guys that doesn't have his ego at the forefront. I think he's one of those guys that would look at any opportunity objectively. And, you know, I think he might relish that opportunity. Now, I think the bigger question would be Nick. Like, not that Nick doesn't like Frank, but what would Nick feel about one of his mentors coming in and running his offense? Do you feel almost less emboldened as a head coach if someone comes? I'm not saying he is. I'm just asking the question. Do you feel less ability to push back?
I think that to me, if he did something like that, I would have more respect for him because it would show me a sign of confidence that he's not worried about anyone rolling in in being a subversive or potentially taking his job. To me, remember what Dick Vermeil said the other day? Do you remember what he said? He goes, I tried to hire assistants that were smarter than me. I didn't try hiring people that I was smarter than because I don't need you then. That's how Dick Vermeil ended up hiring his coaching staff. That, to me, is the most essential thing. Dude, I want to hire the most qualified defensive coordinator. I want to hire a great offensive coordinator. I don't want to sit here and have to think that I know better than the guys that I hired, because then you know what? You're going to be doing their jobs for you, which takes away from your number one job on what you do. Do you know that I think that that's been the number one difference between this team this year and a year ago has been this. He has competent and qualified coaches at key positions, linebacker coach, D-line coach, coordinators, that Nick has been able not to have to get involved too much. And I thought that that has played a factor in why this team picked up steam after the bye. It's been such a great coach job this year by that football team. But all that being said, Zander, great coaching job. You're going against the ultimate coaching staff. As good as you think your staff is. And probably, how about this? Could the Eagles have the second best coaching staff in the NFL? Yeah. To who? The guy you're playing in 10 days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the suck-ass thing about this, is that do you believe in your heart that the Eagles have enough to beat? I'll ask you this again like I did yesterday. Spagnuolo, Reed, and Mahomes. Do you believe you have enough? Dude, it ain't about roster. You've already proven that before in 22. This is about the intangibles. Experience, being there, having won in critical moments, never letting go of the rope, as Tomlin would say. Do you have enough?
I think you do. I think you do this year. I think Vic Fangio is a massive upgrade from Jonathan Gannon. I know Jonathan Gannon had a good defense. I think Vic Fangio is a massive upgrade from him. Just in terms of what you're talking about, intangibles, right? He's an experienced guy. He's not going to be fooled by less. He's seen Mahomes. Now, he is 0-8 versus Mahomes. I mean, I know everybody's trying to spin that with the ad bad roster and everything. Hey, 0-8 is 0-8, big dog. I don't really care about the roster. I get it. The rosters weren't great, but holy shit, 0-8 is not
Mahomes
pretty,
has never lost to Vic Fangio.
Yeah, but no, I do think Vic is an improvement from what you had in 22. And, you know, do you think Frank would be that for the offense?
Yes.
The older guy that's in the building that gives you the edge in terms of experience and some of those things. Maybe that's a good way to look at it.
And it would keep Nick on the rails. Guy like Frank, having a staff like that, it would keep him on the rails. Again, at the end of the day, remember what Shane Steichen said. When Shane Steichen gave you kind of the insight on how Nick operates in there, he went to him and said, why don't you let me be the play caller? And Nick went like this, okay. And the play calling then went down where it changed. They were 2-4 or whatever they were. Remember you and I were both saying after like the 2-4 start, we were going, shit, you think this guy makes the year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? All right, Zander, let's do these super chats.
Yeah, because I got to run. I got to produce your great segments today that you had.
Let's do these supers here, brother. Hey, make sure you get the one where Marcus says that Hurts will never be more than what he is. And make sure you get the other one where Howard says this about Hurts. Yeah, he's okay.
Shut up, Sileo. Matt Dio, what's up, man? Appreciate you. He says, we only need one or two stops, just like Brady and Belichick in 17. With Carter, Bond, Smith, and young defensive backs, Vic can get 2 to 4 good stops. Even more importantly, you need a big play and a big moment. That's what you didn't get. You didn't get 2 to 4 stops versus Brady. He hit 500 yards. He got one big play in one big moment.
Hey, Zander, it could be one of those games though in 10 days.
Yeah, but it's one big play and one big moment, in my opinion. Sean Davis says, our defense has made it look easy for some QBs this season. Vic likes to give up short passes and nothing deep. Is this a concern knowing KC is a lot of short passing?
That's what Zander was talking about with Zach Ertz getting into the zone and having 11 catches for over 100 yards. I mean, Kelsey's better than Ertz. So, I mean, yeah, that's an issue in there. How are you going to defend that? Are you going to chip him? Are you going to put a man on him? Are you going to let him roll in there? Who's covering him? Zach Bond? That means this. If he's put Zach Bond on Zach Ertz, okay, so it's more on Oren Burks and it's more on Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. That's a tough putt there, dude. They're going to try to confuse you, Kansas City.
All right, here we go. More supers. Abe says, Chiefs' worst game versus the run was Steelers, 202 yards, Christmas game, and they still won 29-10. Everyone must be clicking together, including coaching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
No
yes,
doubt.
sir, Abe.
Good super there, Abe. Good pull by you. Khaled says, will Slay be Hall of Fame if he wins the Super Bowl? I think so.
Man, I'll tell you, he's got 6 Pro Bowls. He puts a Super Bowl in there. I mean, look, man, the guy Gilmore has a player of the year, and he's got 6 Pro Bowls, 7 Pro Bowls. And Stephon Gilmore is probably better, but Slay may get in there, man. I mean, if Leroy Butler can get in, Slay can get in.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see though, Khaled. Tony Allen.
Jahan Dotson. By the way, superstar. I heard Jahan Dotson today on Birds 365 had the shittiest grade. Really?
Yeah, that's what John said. That's pretty funny. Tony, you could probably get rich if you bet $10 on a touchdown for him. Might pay you out $10,000 for all we know. Tony Allen, Stills, what song music hyped you up when you played? Good question.
Whiskey in a Jar.
Is that right?
Yep, Whiskey in a Jar by Metallica.
I used to play AC/DC on my way to my hockey games.
I love that too, man. Yeah.
30 D checks in. AC/DC, and then I would go on the other side, go Lil Wayne, baby. Yep, my dad used to like President Carter. We would play President Carter in the car on the way to my hockey games. Baker Mayfield has had 4 offensive coordinators in the last 4 years.
Baker Mayfield can throw the ball better than Jalen, but Jalen's a better overall around player.
You can't go wrong, by the way, with some 50 Cent in the club. You know what I'm saying? You get a little jacked up on that.
Absolutely.
Or see, Dirty D. It's not a good formula. I hear you. I'm from northern New York too. Little town called Natural Bridge, 2 hours north of Syracuse. I wonder where Marcus grew up. I got no idea where Marcus grew up.
I think Marcus grew up around the Rochester area.
Oh, can I correct something, by the way? Okay. I just, John uses this phrase, he uses it all the time, and he uses elevate the conversation. Okay. And I want to elevate the conversation on here for everybody listening on how something works and what's a very misconstrued thing. Okay. Marcus Hayes got obliterated last week for a column that he wrote about Isaiah Rodgers. And the title of said column was Disgraced Gambler Isaiah Rodgers. Now, if you clicked on the column and read it like I did, it was a beautiful piece about Isaiah's journey and what he's been able to do for the team. In journalism, at the Inquirer, you send your piece to editors. Editors read your piece and they make a title crafted to get the most clicks possible out of your piece.
They write it.
So many people are going around right now. Who's this asshole that called Isaiah Rodgers a disgruntled gambler or whatever he called him? That was not Marcus Hayes. Okay. No. You might not like Marcus Hayes. That's fine. But I'm just telling you so you know, Marcus Hayes doesn't write that title. Okay. That's the editors at the Inquirer. If you read that article, if they put a different title on that, you would have loved that article. It was a great article about Isaiah Rodgers. So don't get all caught up in people on social media who don't understand how stuff works and they love to put people in a box. That was not Marcus Hayes. Okay. I don't agree with everything Marcus Hayes says, but don't fall for that shit. Okay. He took so much shit.
It's a headline tease. As a matter of fact, I didn't have a problem with the headline and I didn't have a problem with the column. You know why? The idea is to get clicks and views and people to go there. So what they were doing was they were teasing it. And for the record, it turned out to be one of the most read columns on the Inquirer.
Well, yeah, because of all that. Right. So the editors aren't going to change a thing. But the one thing I don't like about it is that the editors have that ability to do that, and then they don't take nothing happens to the editors. Nobody's in Philly. Well, nobody wants to slap the editor in the head when they're walking around the streets of Philly. So Marcus Hayes has to live with that. Sig Lord says that's a cop-out. No, it's not, Sig. What do you know about this business, Sig Lord? Sure, tell me, what do you know about this business that you can say that, Sig Lord? If you know something, or you work in this business like I have for 5 years and have dealt with all these assholes, every legal department, every editing. We used to get lawsuit requests about Sileo for not quoting Jeff McClain right, or using an Eagle picture on our thumbnails. I've dealt with all these assholes. You don't know shit, Sig Lord. Okay, I'm not the biggest. I don't love everything Marcus says, but don't come in here and say something like that when you don't know anything.
Yeah,
it's just stupid.
It's at the end of the day, you got to remember these people are doing the same thing that we're doing. We're trying to get viewers, and they're doing everything in their power to do it. And like you said, Zander, hey, at the end of the day here, man, does it paint Marcus Hayes into being an asshole and looking like one? Yeah, but he knows that comes with the market.
It comes with the territory.
It comes with the territory.
It does. Totally. I'm just saying, it's a low conversation to say, oh my God, he was mean to Isaiah Rodgers, which by the way, it was
a great column.
I'm an accountability guy too. Like if you make a mistake in life, you can't expect people to just never bring it up. Look at Sileo. How many times has he talked to you about something that he wishes he did differently in life? It's accountability in life. You own it, you face it, you grow from it, you get better, and you move on. Come on. Lord Gray says the young GOAT is chasing Tom Brady. If he wins the Super Bowl here, have 4 Super Bowls, and he's only 29. We need Jake Elliott to be money.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Everything you said is right. Remember something about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are playing for history. The Eagles are trying to validate the wins that they have over the last 4 years and their era. Because would you not agree, Zander? If Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, it's the greatest era in history of Eagle football. And also, on top of that, it validates him at being the most important quarterback. And I didn't like the way John didn't answer because of about having Howie's best pick. If that quarterback wins the Super Bowl, and he has been the 2, it's the greatest pick he's ever had. And whether or not it's a pick he counted on, how many people believe that Bill Belichick, when he drafted Tom Brady in the 6th round, was saying, that guy's going to win 6 Super Bowls?
I'm happy you agree with me on this. Yeah.
Well, John doesn't agree. They had given, Zander, they had given the year before Drew Bledsoe a $117 million contract, and they made him the highest paid quarterback. They drafted Brady, guess what, in the 6th. The following year, Bledsoe gets hurt. Bledsoe gets hurt. And what happens? They put him in and changed the history. They didn't draft Tom Brady to take Drew Bledsoe's position. However, they had him in the room, and it was by happenstance that they got the GOAT in the room. How do you know that never plays out for Tanner McKee? Dude, draft correctly, evaluate. You never know. You may land on Jason Kelce.
It's so true, man. You're 100% right. 100% right, man. I agree.
You get all the supers?
Yep, we got them all, bro. Let me make sure. Yeah, are we allowed to correct this or no? Zeal says, watch the Eskin interview. Softball. Can we tell the people why it's Softball City?
Oh, the reason why I couldn't ask is he's suing WIP.
Yeah, there's a lot of legal stuff.
Once again, real Zeal, like we just gave that one guy, Sig, the he's suing WIP for wrongful firing.
There's just a lot of law. There's a lot of legal going on, man. And Howard's not going to come on if we don't agree to not put him in a compromising position. So, Zeal, one day that story will be told, just like with Jacob. There's plenty to tell, man, soon. So
absolutely. And Howard said that he would do it here for me if he gives me this opportunity. And I said, let's just talk about Super Bowl 59. And so he goes, great. You're going to just talk Super Bowl 59? And I kept to my word. And so why wouldn't
I? As you should. He can't be put in a compromising situation. He wouldn't come on. Yeah.
That's right. He's going to sue IP. Imagine that, a place that he built. Zander, great stuff, my friend.
Literally built, by the way. I was surprised all the people in the chat. Jacob, this is probably not an embellishment. Jacob might not exist if a guy like Howard Eskin didn't come through Philly.
Correct.
That's what he did for
sports talk. I wouldn't have
a
career if he didn't.
That's what he did for sports talk in this city. Most people don't know that, but that's we might not exist without what he did. So no doubt about it. Sills, great show, man. I got to run. I'm going to get your segments up, right, brother?
You got it, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate everybody. Sig Lord, even you. Sorry if I ripped you, brother. Love you all. See you.
We will catch you on Birds 365, my good friend.